Hey guys, I'm Fuller.
I'm Jonah.
This is Off the Line. So this morning, the Champions League draw. So we're just gonna go ahead and just give our picks, our thoughts going ahead. We didn't really want to include this in this week's episode because we kind of just felt it'd be a little long and make a whole separate thing. So the big match for me, I think this go around Juventus Atletico. I think from a neutral standpoint, it'll be very interesting. Antoine Griezmann, always a joy to watch. Cristiano Ronaldo, how he's gonna defend his crown as the champion of Europe right now. That's a cool storyline right there. But in addition to that, I think Juventus and Atletico kind of play the same, and not like they play the same, but they play different. But it's the very defense first. We're gonna grind this result out, and we're gonna get all 3 points. But it's gonna be an ugly win probably. I think Juventus go through, personally.
Yeah, it's a very interesting matchup just because they do win in similar ways. They're very much, they don't win by multiple goals normally. Usually if they're a goal ahead, both of them are excellent at kind of sealing the game away. Both of them do kind of have an X factor. I would edge Ronaldo in the X factor, even though Griezmann is an incredible player.
It's really hard to go against Ronaldo.
Yeah,
right
the
now.
Champions League is Ronaldo's stage, though. So, for me, this was definitely the hardest pick to call, especially because I would probably edge Juventus, but you have to remember that the Champions League final this year is being played at Atleti's Stadium, the Wanda Metropolitano. So they're going to be desperate.
Cool.
Yeah, they're going to be desperate to get to the final to be able to play on home soil, but the Champions League is Ronaldo's competition, so I think I'm going to have to edge
100% agree.
just barely. But I do predict it only being like a 1 or 2 goal affair over the 2 legs.
And I think if he wins it, if Juventus were to win the Champions League this year, like that's just a couple key points right there. I can't think of any other player who would have won 3 Champions Leagues with 3 different clubs. That is unheard of, and it just contributes to like, if you're Gigi Buffon, how pissed are you? Like, how mad are you if Juventus win the Champions League, like, the season after you leave?
Bringing in Ronaldo to do so.
Yeah, that would be really funny. Like, that would be awesome. Just to watch and see, like, the scenes. I don't like Buffon, so, like, that would be cool.
What about United's draw?
I was really...
I think it's a perfect draw for PSG.
Yeah, it's a perfect draw for PSG. Like, probably United won't be in good form then. You can pretty much, I guess, now assume Pogba won't be playing in that game. So,
I just think of the big teams.
of the English teams, like that was the one to get.
Well, yeah, they also of any of the big teams still left in the tournament, I think they're the weakest defensively, and when you look at PSG, I think they are one of the strongest offensively.
Cavani.
So I just think it's a bad matchup for United. It's a great matchup for PSG. I think PSG's going through.
Absolutely, PSG is going to go through. Kylian Mbappe is going to score 100 goals. It's going to be great. It's going to be awful.
Another matchup that looks pretty spicy on the surface would be the Liverpool-Bayern draw.
Absolutely.
I think it's a perfect matchup for Liverpool just because they play really fast-paced. Bayern's squad is aging.
It's not their year this year.
Yeah, they're aging and they're not doing well in the league. So I think it's a great matchup. Klopp knows the system well.
Absolutely.
He's miles and miles and miles ahead tactically over Niko Kovac. So I think it just bodes well in Liverpool's favor. What do you think?
I think Liverpool are going to come out and just shit on Bayern Munich. I don't know, like, I hope I'm wrong. I hope Liverpool lose by a lot of goals, but, like, I don't foresee that happening. I see Liverpool, especially Jurgen Klopp, is just going to press the shit out of Bayern. And they're not going to be able to put up with that. Like you said, they're old. You got old wingers running around there.
If they're able to slow the game down and possess the ball, it'll be a different story. But in the league, they just haven't proven that they're able to do that.
Absolutely.
In the Bundesliga.
Absolutely.
And I just think Liverpool's play style is way too fast-paced. Even if it's still 0-0 going into the second half, I still think that bodes well for Liverpool just because those older players are going to start to tire.
What world are we living in where we're looking at a Bayern-Liverpool fixture and we're like, oh, Liverpool's got that. Like, I can't think of any time when we've watched soccer and been like, yeah, Liverpool easily on paper better than Bayern Munich. Like,
Yeah, I mean the last
it's just
time that
weird to think
the
about.
last time they were looked at in this light, neither of us were on the planet. It would, probably you have to go back to the '80s to see that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that it's not an evolution that came overnight. You know, Klopp's been there for quite some time now.
Absolutely.
And we've seen him slowly build and make the right bring the right people in, and let the right people go sometimes to get where he is today.
So Tottenham, Dortmund. I think it's nailed on. Dortmund go through. I haven't seen enough of Spurs this season to really be convinced that they can hold their own in Europe. I think that's always been a problem for Spurs. Not always. I mean, since they've been in the Champions League consistently, making it into the latter stages has just been an issue.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a depth issue. I just don't know if it's the players not having what it takes, which I find very hard to believe because most of those players are British and they went on to win third place or fourth place at the World Cup.
Well, this also, like, Tottenham kind of snuck in through the back door to even get to this game.
Absolutely.
They got a result
Fifth place.
against Barcelona.
Oh, wait, no. I was thinking of something different. Continue.
Yeah, no, I'm just match day 6. They got a
was
result
wild.
against Barcelona, and Inter couldn't get a win over Ajax. So they very much needed help just to get where they are right now. I think that, like Fuller said, on paper, you might edge Tottenham just because of the quality of their players versus the quality of the players at
Just
Dortmund.
the form is so... Not even form,
But
because
exactly.
Tottenham haven't been bad this season. I mean, they came out, they beat United, they got a result in the Camp Nou. Like, you can't understate that, even if it's a 1-1 draw.
I mean,
but,
Dortmund,
dude, like,
to be fair, Dortmund
is
haven't
sick
been...
right now.
They're sick right now, but they haven't been very much to shake a stick at in Europe over the past couple years.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to just completely draw the attention to Spurs' side of things. But yeah, I just think that in current form, Dortmund has to edge this matchup.
I think it's cool especially for Jadon Sancho. This is kind of what goes into, I think, Dortmund. I think Jadon Sancho's, this is just going to be another story in his meteoric rise. We're going to hear about him scoring 2 goals at Wembley or something like that to beat Spurs and
to beat an English team. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be the big headline about the state of English soccer. You can read all the pundits talk about like all that crap, but Jadon Sancho is going to score. That's basically what we're going with that. Jadon Sancho is sick. Barcelona, Lyon. Barcelona.
I think it has to be Barcelona.
Yeah.
I don't know a ton about Lyon. I know you were talking earlier, Memphis Depay's on fire right now. But we were talking about Ronaldo being so good in the Champions League. You got to remember Leo Messi as well.
Absolutely.
And not just Messi, like a bunch of other players that
on
are
that
on
team.
Barcelona's
Suarez,
team as well.
Coutinho, like...
Yeah, they're battle tested and battle ready.
That's not a discount Lyon. I'm sure Lyon are a great team. When we got into watching soccer, Liga 1, it was not a competitive. That was even really before PSG had been bought.
Right.
I don't know if you just like look into the history of the French league. There's like a lull from when, like Lyon was like sick in 2004 to like 2012.
Marseille had their time as well.
Yeah, and there's no PSG, no Monaco. It's weird. So like Lyon is like I don't know. I'm not really sure where I'm going with that, but Lyon, Barcelona.
They have history. Is where you.
Yes, exactly. Lyon used to be a powerhouse.
Right.
And this isn't like, I don't know. Lyon might turn up. Is where I'm getting at that.
Right.
Barcelona have been kind of shaky. They did give up that late goal to Spurs at home. And they gave up last year that monumental slip up to Roma.
Right.
I don't know. I think it'd be a cool game to watch.
I think they'll be itching to have just like great results in Europe just because of the way La Liga is kind of panning out.
Yeah.
All the big teams are dropping points.
Yeah.
Which is
La Liga's been kind of fun this year. Like, it's spicy.
It's leaving the table wide open.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Barcelona's going to be too much. Speaking of being too much, could Manchester City have gotten an easier draw than Schalke? I think we were both talking about how we think Schalke has the weakest talent pool out of anybody left in the tournament.
Yeah.
So where do you kind of stand with that draw? Is there anything
It'll be
you
cool.
have to add.
It'll be cool to watch Weston McKennie play against England's best.
Hopefully he'll be playing in a position where he
He
wants
can
to be.
like that's what I'm looking forward to, pretty much.
Is City still your favorite to win the Champions League?
I don't know. I mean, City in theory, when I say like my favorite, I wouldn't necessarily on paper, they should win the Champions League. But you also have Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi like lurking out there to.
I mean,
Ruin
Manchester
that.
City have a second squad that could come out and
Absolutely
compete against some of these.
They could
teams
finish
in these
second in the
fixtures.
Premier League. Like
So yeah, Manchester City is.
they're gonna beat Schalke. They're probably gonna beat the brakes off Schalke.
Oh, I think they're gonna have it. It's gonna be wrapped up by the first leg.
Yeah, Leroy Sané is gonna get that.
It should be wrapped up by the first leg.
He's gonna get that welcome home hat trick.
Real Ajax.
Real, but Ajax fun to watch.
Ajax is
I like
fun to
that.
watch. Always fun to watch.
Ajax's like structure is like so cool. Like I don't think I've ever like seen anything. Like everyone in their coaching staff, like world class player, world class player, world class player. Their boardroom staff, all world class players. Edwin van der Sar is like, I think they're like head of marketing now. It's just a very cool like culture.
They churn out youth talent.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
literally no other club I can think of, at least in Europe.
Going into today, like my ideal matchup would have been a Barcelona Ajax game, and we did get that in the group stages, which was cool because there's just so much shared history between those two clubs. I mean, you can't really talk about Bayern Munich without the Netherlands.
Right.
I mean, not Bayern, Barcelona. Like it's just so linked together.
Right.
And then seeing them play against Real, like
Yeah.
Real's gonna win by
I
a
think
lot.
Real's gonna go through too.
And that's like weird to say by a lot because I think Real will turn up for that. They're not going to win La Liga. They've had poor showing in every competition they've played in so far. This is a chance for them to turn their season around. And I think if you're, what's their manager's name?
Somebody out of their academy who's coaching one of their youth sides.
Yeah, if you're Real's coach, you're pretty much looking at that draw and saying the season starts again on this date. We get a couple of like results for us, great. But the Champions League is what Real is probably focusing on now.
4 in a row, can they do it?
I like you said, is City my favorite? I think Real could still hypothetically, without Cristiano Ronaldo.
You think the trophy follows the club over Ronaldo?
I don't know, dude. I think
Is that unfair on the rest of Real Madrid?
a little bit like Ronaldo did like do a lot, and it's kind of weird watching.
Is that unfair on Ramos's dirty work to
See,
get there?
Sergio Ramos did nothing wrong. We can debate that for years and years. Nothing wrong. I don't know what I was good with that, but Roma and Porto. I don't watch enough of these two teams to really like act like I know. So I'm gonna say like Roma.
Going off the knowledge that we have, we know their manager, Di Francesco, had them go on that great run last season.
Absolutely.
So we know that they're able to come up with
Big
results,
game moments
against teams that are much
bigger
better and have much bigger payrolls
Absolutely.
than Porto. So based off what I know, I would edge Roma in that matchup. Roma's another team that I think is super exciting to watch. They got super young players like Cengiz Ünder and Justin Kluivert right now. So they have a mix of established players like Eden Dzeko and youth. So they're a great team to watch. It'll be a fun game to watch, but I just don't know enough about the opponent in Porto.
The only thing I really know about Porto is it's a culture. Like more than a team, it's like you're playing for a culture. Like
Right.
so everyone who's playing on Porto has probably been playing together since they were real little. And that's really hard to beat. Like I think that was a big issue with teams playing against like Sir Alex's class of '92 is these guys have been playing together for so long. That's just a level of skill you can't beat because you know where your friend's gonna be because you've been playing ball with them since you were 10 years old.
Right.
And that's just like teams like Porto and Ajax, they're selling clubs. That's all like they really function to be. They're selling clubs for bigger teams, and that's kind of what they do. Is they just have a team of players who have been playing together for a while, and it's a culture there. So I think like that, you can't really discount that. I know it's just like hocus pocus science, but I'm a firm believer in there's like stuff outside of the sport that can determine it. I just think if you've been around someone long enough, that can help.
I don't personally know the answer to this question, but are you comparing the size of the culture around Porto to the size of the culture around Roma and how significant that team is to Rome? Is that how big of a deal it is in Portugal?
See, I would say that it's like people want to go play at Rome. People go from all over the world to end up playing at Roma, but you very rarely see footballers move from all over the world to end up at Porto. It's usually young, promising Portuguese players or South American players who did not make it at a big club like James Rodriguez. He ends up there. Hulk ends up there.
Yeah.
Jackson Martinez, Falcao.
Jackson Martinez got a payday from leaving that club.
Yeah, he went to like Atletico
Madrid for a short amount of time,
half a season,
and then went to China, some team in
Dude,
China.
he was sick on FIFA. He was so sick. He was like 27, went to China. Dude, Jackson Martinez.
Where you
What
at?
are you doing, dude? Like.
But before we wrap all of this up, have you heard any rumors on the interwebs that would make you change any of your picks? Because this year you're going to be able to bring in transfers, and they're going to be eligible to play for you in the knockout rounds. They got away with that cap type rule.
Really?
Yes. So
you know
the reason that Aubameyang couldn't play for Arsenal at the second half of their season. Or was it him or Lacazette?
No, it was Aubameyang.
Yeah.
Because he was Europa.
That rule does not exist anymore.
Yeah, that's
so,
cool.
Have you heard any moves that you think could impact any of these?
I mean, judging by my picks, like I don't see Atletico signing anyone that makes me think that they're going to beat Juventus. I don't see United signing anybody unless they get a new manager and like 2 players. They're not beating PSG. Bayern could very well beat Liverpool too. Like, I mean, we were pretty.
If they're able to control the game, I think without
very much
question,
Bayern could slow it down.
Virgil van Dijk is going to have to play out of his mind.
Yes.
If Bayern can possess the game, I just don't think that they've shown enough this season to make me think they'll be able to do that.
I don't think Tottenham have never really, I feel like, been a big mid-season spender. I don't see them really bringing anyone in that changes who they are. And really, who would you bring into that Tottenham lineup at this point? But I can't think of a single player.
Reinforcements in midfield.
Exactly, but like, who do you take
Christian
out?
Eriksen and Dele Alli, but you got
Son, you got Dembele. I don't know.
You need a new Dembele type.
Yeah.
Because you can't rely on Dembele and Dyer, in my opinion, to make deep runs. Dembele may be back in his prime, but he's aging, and it's hard to even get 90 minutes out of him at one time. So,
the last 4, like Barca, City, Real, Roma.
I think those are pretty locked on.
Yeah. So who do you have winning the Champions League? I guess better question. Who's your final 2?
My final 2. Oh man, okay. That's easier than picking a winner, because I can put Man City in the final 2 without saying that it's been quite a while that Pep has proven that he can win this competition.
Nice.
So I think that would be that's an interesting dynamic, even though I think City, top to bottom, are the best team in the competition. My other 2 would. It's probably gonna, for me, come out of the Juventus Atleti game. Whoever wins that game, I think would be a very, very strong candidate. Just because both of those teams are incredibly hard to beat.
Absolutely.
And are incredibly good at game management once they have that goal ahead of you.
Yeah, I again, I think for me, like, out of your 2 like pairings, like Juventus, City sounds like an exciting game. I think it's Juventus PSG in the final.
Juventus PSG in the final.
I think City.
See, I wasn't.
City's gonna win the league, not gonna win the Champions League, and it's gonna be. It's like, it's so weird that that's what football is now in 2018, where you can win the league and it not be the season you wanted it to.
Right.
Like, you can win the Premier League and set records, and the pundits will still say, "Yeah, you didn't win the Champions League. Doesn't mean that much." I don't think City do it this year. I think they slip up, especially if they draw Juventus. I think against a team like that, against a player like that, Cristiano Ronaldo, I don't know I feel like the one area that City is like not that great at is their center backs, and I think that
Interesting.
I would say it's not that they're like
They don't
bad
rely
at
on them very much.
Exactly.
They're not like
Exactly.
challenged or tested. We don't know how
Dybala,
they'll do it.
Ronaldo, like that is going to be something that City have not played against in the Premier League except.
I'm
against,
sure
like,
Pep
Liverpool.
would have tactically something to say about us saying they don't rely
Absolutely.
on them. I'm sure they're very
Yeah,
important to his system.
Yeah.
But strictly defensively speaking, I know exactly what you mean by that.
And I think PSG, I think this is their year to
See,
just
I
at
wasn't
least
even thinking
get.
about adding them in.
Uh,
I'm interested to think about Real's path to the final. If they get lucky with a draw, it could easily be one of them above the other.
I think if there's four
teams.
teams like I had to pick for like my like semifinals or quarterfinals, whatever, City, PSG, Juventus, and Real. I think Barcelona get the kick early. Not early. I mean they make it past the first round.
See, for me, PSG is just like, I know Mbappe is quickly becoming like a Ballon d'Or
Neymar,
candidate.
Cavani, like I think this is he's won the World Cup this year. He's won Golden Boy last year. He had that hell of a run with Monaco in the Champions League the season before that. It's just one more notch on like the cult of Kylian Mbappe.
There's just too many teams for me in the field that I would fancy PSG to lose to. For me to confidently say I would have them in my Final Four. I would fancy them losing to Juventus.
Absolutely,
I
I
would
can see
fancy
that.
them losing to
Absolutely.
Madrid.
City. I mean, you
City.
lose to you lose to any of these teams any day of the week. Like
Right.
no doubt about it. But there's just something when you watch those like their front three link up. It's scarier than
True.
any other front
yeah,
three.
I don't want to
like,
sound like I'm underselling them. They're probably the best front three in the competition.
I think they are. I think, and that's a major nods to Liverpool's front three. I think that's probably the fastest breaking attack in the world right now is what Liverpool has going on. And City's front three, great. But prime Neymar, prime Mbappe, and like 29-year-old Edison Cavani, that's a sick lineup.
It'll just depend on how
Who they play.
Yeah, and who they come in,
yeah.
how they come into mentally to the game. Because I know you were talking about how Ligue 1 is becoming more competitive, but
More spicy.
I still think that it. I mean, we're not even to January yet, and I think PSG's like already has a double-digit lead.
Yeah.
So they're not being tested to the level of other big teams in the tournament. But that doesn't mean that if they don't show up on their day with the right mentality, that attacking three can't put 2-3 goals in easily against any team.
And that's what I was just sitting thinking about. Like, I think they're gonna come out and just thrash United. I don't think.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think there's anyone
United is not
out
a
there,
defensive
like-
team, which is
Absolutely.
why I find it so interesting that that's how Mourinho insists on playing.
Yeah. But it just really, PSG are one of those teams, like you said, they haven't been tested. And like, I would not be surprised if United come and hit them right on the jaw in that first leg at Old Trafford, and so then they're going to Paris 2 goals up or something like that. I don't know. I think United aren't going to get a result, like any result. But these are Jose Mourinho games. Like, these are what Jose Mourinho, like, made his, like, the skin on his back on doing at Porto, then Chelsea, Inter. There's the Champions League games. Like, that's him.
Right. Well, for me, just tactically and managerially speaking, like specifically regarding United and PSG, United currently have a manager that kind of plays to negate the other team's strengths. While PSG, for me, since the takeover, really have employed managers that accentuate their own team's strengths.
Attack.
Right. So it's two like completely different managerial philosophies. So, I think in current form, it's going to be tough to if you're betting on United, you're betting on their defense, which
Psych.
yeah.
Well, I think that wraps this up. That was pretty long. I think it was way longer than
we
we
originally
anticipated.
intended.
But yeah, let us know in the comments who you think PSG, City, Real, Ajax might win the competition. I'm Fuller.
I'm Jonah.
This has been Off the Line.